At the age of 20, I was engaged and I was living in Sydney, Australia, studying at a Bible college, and I truly thought that life couldn't have gotten any better. At the age of 21, I was married, I was living in Australia still, and I was extremely hopeful about what the next couple of years would look like for me. By the age of 22, I was divorced and I left Australia, ended up relocating to Arizona. I was depressed and extremely suicidal. At 23, I was numb and I was in a lot of pain, but I asked for help and I began the long and painful process of my healing journey. At 24, I felt like I was living my best life. I had graduated college the year before, I had traveled a lot, I was engrossed in my community, I had some great jobs, but at 24, I really began to question my faith. At the age of 25, I really wrestled with my faith and I struggled a lot in silence. Outside of that, I felt like things were going pretty well for me for the most part. I had some good jobs that I loved, I had others that I hated, I had good community around me, I was traveling a lot. And although I was still wrestling with some things, I was very hopeful about what the next couple of years would bring for me. At the age of 26, I started to mourn my early 20s, and I was grieving a lot of the years that I felt like were wasted. At the age of 26, I realized there were some things that I thought I had healed from that I actually hadn't. So at the age of 26, I went back to therapy and I decided in myself it was time to fully trust God again. At the age of 27, I look back over the last 7 years of my life, and as I reflect, I would have never imagined that I would be where I am right now. At the age of 27, all I can think about is how faithful God has been to me. When I was a teenager and I was thinking about my 20s, I would have never thought they would turn out like this. I would have never thought that in my early 20s I would be married and divorced, or I would have moved out of my hometown and lived in a different country. I would have never thought I'd meet the people that I've met and that I consider some of my closest friends, or have traveled to the places that I always dreamed of traveling. I would have never thought that I would wrestle and struggle as much as I did. When I think about the first 7 years of my 20s, although there were so many challenging times, there were so many blessings within them. There were so many incredible things that happened, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for the person that those first 7 years have made me. And I'm so grateful that throughout all of these years, God has been so good to me, so faithful, so kind, loving, and gracious. Overall, turning 27 has got me thinking about the fact that I would have never predicted what happened over the last 7 years, and I will never be able to predict what will happen over the next 7 years. There are things in my control and there are things out of it. What really matters is how I choose to respond to those things.